Hello and welcome back everyone to another episode of Indexer Office Hours. Today is the 13th of December and this is IOH 87. For those of you who are new to Indexer Office Hours is the town square for graph ecosystem participants to come together and discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexers. And just to let you know, this is a conversation, and so on that level, we'd love participation, and you can chat. You can participate either via voice or text. So towards the end of the sections that we have, we'll have a conversation. So please do get involved. As a reminder, this session is recorded and will be distributed onto public channels like YouTube. So if you're concerned about privacy, please bear that in mind. And with that, we have a very exciting agenda to get into today. But before we get into that, I want to hand it over to Nick to do some announcements for the graph.
Thank you, Abel, and thanks for doing such a great job with Indexer Office Hours. It's great to see everybody here. I just wanted to remind everybody that this week is the Graph's second birthday. So the formal birthday is December 17th for the Graph Network. As you've probably seen, there are 6 events being hosted all across the world by Graph advocates. So we've got one in Amsterdam, Buenos Aires, Dubai, Lagos, San Francisco, and Singapore. I think they're all booked at this point, except for Amsterdam. There's just a few spots left. So if you want to go to one of those events and you're having trouble getting a ticket, please let me know. And then lastly, for those that can't attend one of those in-person events, you can join a birthday celebration virtually by attending the Graph's Twitter Spaces panel and event this Thursday, December 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific. I'm posting a link to that Twitter Spaces right now in the chat, so would love to see you online if you can't attend one of the in-person events, and appreciate this time to make that announcement. Back to you, Abel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the announcements, and very exciting to come to this part of the year where we're celebrating the second birthday of the graph. Wonderful. So now I'll get into the opening remarks, and with that, I will give a shout out to the 94th episode of the GRT IQ episode with Sergey, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I hope I am, who is the co-founder of 1inch, and many of you in the room are keen DeFi participants, so I'm sure you don't need to have me explain what 1inch is, but for those who aren't familiar with 1inch, it's the leading DeFi solution and exchange aggregator that scans all the different decentralized exchanges to find the lowest price for a certain crypto to execute trades. Think of it as a DEX aggregator. And so, as you can imagine, 1inch is a very successful project, and so it was a very interesting conversation with Sergey. Sergey discussed a bit about his background, how he became interested in crypto, how 1inch came about, the origin story, how it works, and then, of course, how 1inch leverages the graph and his outlook / perspective on the future of DeFi and Web3. So if you're interested in any of those topics, as Nick has kindly done posted in the chat, the link is there. Please go check it out. And with that, I will hand it over to Anna to take us into Repo Watch. Take it away, Anna.
Thank you, Abel, and hello everyone again. So on Repo Watch, as always, you'll find the details of last releases on the agenda. I will only mention new releases from in between this week and last week. So with that, let's go into execution layer client. And here we have had a new release of 𝗟𝗏𝗀𝗀. This is release version 2.31.0. And it updates consensus tests to version 11.2. It has a lot of bug fixes and improvements. For Polygon Boar, it adds a block number for Delhi hard fork for Mumbai testnet. And for BSC, it adds support of 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 hard fork for mainnet. Has anyone tried this release? So version 2.31 of 𝗟𝗏𝗀𝗀. I can see Matthew typing. Okay, so Matthew is syncing Polygon with the latest 𝗟𝗏𝗀𝗏. can I just clarify that the latest 𝗟𝗏𝗀 is the canonical 𝗟𝗏𝗀 rather than the fork of Polygon? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So it's, yeah. And then on the rest of the execution layer clients, we've only had for streaming fast yet some Polygon releases for 0.3. That's it for execution layer clients. On consensus layer clients, we have had a new release on Nimbus. This release is version 22.11.1. This is a high urgency hotfix for all users who are running validators backed by remote key stores and Web3 signers. This basically addresses a compatibility issue that could result in missed block proposals. So if you are not using a remote signer, you don't need to update to this. But if you are, please update to Nimbus version 22.11.1. On Graph Stack, we haven't had any new releases on either GraphNode or Indexer Service Agent. And I can see a comment from Matthew about Polygon 𝗟𝗏𝗀 being on block 24 out of 36 of the execution phase. Any more comments relating to any of the releases I've mentioned? Has anyone had anything to add since last week, or anything we should all be aware of? Okay, I will take that as a no. Matthew is saying that he thinks there's at least another week before Polygon 𝗟𝗏𝗀 is synced, and then we can see how it works. Yeah, the waiting is quite long, but let's hope it will sync completely, and I will have an update about syncing Polygon as well soon. With that, I will hand it over to Abel. Thank you. And yeah, Mark Andre is saying version 2.30, so the previous version of 𝗟𝗏𝗀 syncs fine as well. Thank you. Back to you, Abel.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anna. And with that, I'm going to hand the ball to Juan, who's going to take us into Protocol Watch.
Thanks, Fable. This time it's not gonna be such a long protocol watch, fortunately. Getting into forum governance, we have requests for information about disputes GDR15. There's a lot of heated debate there about a potential exploit on the network by using curation as kind of like a part of like a scheme. It's not like entirely known if it's gonna be cataloged as kind of like an exploit or not. There's a lot of like different perspective of the matter. So if you're interested in one of the most important cases thus far about the dispute system, it's a good place to start. Next up, we have GAP41, store dispute status as on resolution. I think this was a request by the Soulbound Labs team so that they can use the dispute results for each of the disputes as a kind of like an input, on-chain input to their product. I don't remember exactly the reputation product that they were building. And I think there's a lot of like positive response to that. So I'm assuming they are gonna be implementing it soon. Last comment was basically Ariel asking them if they wanted to work on that and have some support by agent nodes that they can kind of like review it and implement it further. Next up, we have forum research. There was a question about potentially including some teams Google Workspace feature to collaborate as a team. As far as I could see, Stack was quite opposed to having more centralized public-facing things with contact information. But if you're interested about that, please go to the forum post and give your opinion about it. Next up, contract repository. There are a few PRs open for the subgraph migration, how to potentially do L2 subgraph migrations in a more orderly fashion, as well as some merged PRs regarding also L2 scaling and some chores that were missing. Regarding the network subgraphs, we already kind of covered this last week, but there are a few new implementations that are kind of like breach aware. This means that they are aware of the depositing into L2 and withdrawing from L2 functionality of the breach that was implemented. It's not yet live on production, but it's currently being tested on the staging step we have. So it's going to be deployed relatively soon to actual production and be live there. We will also be deploying a non-IPFS version for indexers to sync if they want to. To be honest, the change is not particularly critical. It's not going to be, the new features are not going to be used by the indexer agent anytime soon, so it's not required for indexers to use the latest version. But again, latest versions are going to be linked most likely next week when they are hitting production. And that's pretty much it for Protocol Watch. So I'll handle over to you, Abel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Juan. So the next part of today's conversation is a MIPS update. And in line with that, we have the lovely Pedro, who's going to take us into that update there.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Thumbs up.
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. Thank you, Abel. Nice. Yes. So the update is fairly short, I think. So this week this last 2 weeks, we've been onboarding the new MIPS applicants that have applied for the Polygon chain. We've also updated the leaderboard with 82 new entries. So for those that have been that have reached out recently, do take the time to check for your addresses. It might be there. Bear in mind that I still have to go through some messages. So if that's not sorted yet, don't fret. I will get to your message for sure during this week. And then the last message is that, or the last update is that we are activating noses on mainnet during this week, as mentioned, actually as we speak. And so do pay attention to the MIPS announcement channel, and your email will be sharing some news, hopefully by tomorrow. The last phase of this program will be for you to index this single subgraph we are migrating to mainnet. And that should happen during the holidays. And so, by early January, the Noses network should be open to everybody. But for now, we'll have this single subgraph migrated just to ensure that everything's working as intended. We'll be monitoring network readiness and indexers supply, really. So that's going to be your last mission on Noses, let's say. And so the last update is, and again, do pay attention to your email. This is going to be another email that we'll be sharing next week. That will be on the last email of this year, and it's going to be all about scoring, the rewards distribution mechanism. We're hoping to share more by next week. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be a nice way of ending the year, really. Yeah, I guess that's all on my side.
Wonderful. So in IOH fashion, we're going to head straight into the MIPS Q&A section. So LP has posted oh, I can see that you've already answered, Pedro. Great. Cool. Well, this is the section where we're going to discuss any sort of Q&A in relation to the MIPS program, or anything as we kind of progress. So yeah, if you have any questions in relation to MIPS, now is a great opportunity to ask them. So feel free to do so, either in the chat or unmuting your mic. I see a few people typing away in the chat, which is great. I see a question here from Matthew asking, so Gnosis will be rolled out on the Graph network before Arbitrum Bridge. Pedro, do you want to kind of speak to that? Because I know that you've been heavily involved with the Gnosis rollout.
Yes, Matthew. Sorry. Yes, that is correct. It should be rolled out before Arbitrum Bridge, and the Arbitrum Bridge is going to be another phase, let's say. I can indeed share an updated timeline during next week once we share the new. Yeah, once we share the new or the latest update on MIPS by next week, we can share the tentative timeline for these next phases, meaning Polygon and also the Arbitrum or the indexer migration to an L2. Can we use the same address for Polygon MIPS, and also we can stop syncing noses now? So you can definitely reuse the same address for Polygon MIPS. I would not recommend you to stop indexing noses or syncing noses now, the archive node, because again, we'll be activating it on mainnet. And so the last phase for noses will be for you folks or MIPS participants to go on to mainnet and become a real indexer on mainnet. So yeah, if you're still syncing your archive node, I don't think you want to stop now. Vince, the date when Gnosis will be on mainnet, I mean, we're working on it right now. So it's gonna happen in the next hours, 24 hours maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Once it's activated on mainnet, we'll share another announcement here on Discord and also by email, letting you know which subgraph you should be indexing on mainnet and serving queries for. I'd be curious to know, actually, since you guys are providing feedback on how Nethermind client is with the TraceDB plugin. Not sure we covered that particular client yet. We did Aragon for Polygon, though.
See a bunch of people typing, so I'm assuming they're responding in chat.
Okay. Well, if others have tried it, I mean, it would be super helpful to get the Nethermind team this feedback on the plugin so they can merge it. No, we do not have a date for Polygon on testnet. It should happen mid-January, but again, do wait for the official announcement on these new timelines. Vincent, is there any way that indexers can understand why they missed points for the leaderboard? I've been checking the data myself, so if there are questions, feel free to reach out and I can look for it and I can give you the exact logs we have and understand why you failed. That might help you also figure out what you had wrong. Vilya, there's no date for when your Polygon archive node should be ready. Just bear in mind that we're thinking of starting the Polygon girly phase by mid-January, which is why we shared this announcement a couple of weeks ago, just to get you all a head start. Oh, so the leaderboard does not yet take into account your phase one participation, just to be clear. We have not yet scored you on phase one. That will happen this week, and that's going to be the update for next week. We're still computing stuff. Everything you see on the leaderboard right now is for phase 0. Yeah, so there's also been some updates on KYC. Indeed, I've seen like 20 or 30 more emails getting approved this last couple of days, like since, well, yeah, like yesterday and today we've had a bunch of people getting approved. Charles, are you referring to your new MIPS application? Did you apply for Polygon, or are you an old MIPS applicant? Feel free to DM me with more details. We're still sending, if I don't know how many folks we have that have applied for during this Polygon phase, but if you've applied recently, we're going through all of your applications. The deadline to apply is tomorrow, like I think, or something like that. It's midnight PT tomorrow. So yeah, we're going through all applications, reviewing KYC and sending agreements this week. But that's for those that have applied when we open the program for new applicants during the Polygon announcement. Okay, Charles. Yes, don't worry. We're still going through all applications. That's why you've seen that you've passed KYC. The next step is to send you the agreement, and that will happen during the following days. Will there be updates to graph components to take noses onto mainnet? The only requirement, correct me if I'm wrong, folks here, like Ford, Juan, is for you to run graph node 0.29.0. And yeah, that's the only requirement. But we haven't communicated this because there's a PR open yet, and we're not yet recommending 0.29 on mainnet. But yeah, the PR should be closed very, very soon. Yes, so the leaderboard in the future. So what I can share right now is that we're working on to have a real-time dashboard for all of you to figure out how you are. Yeah, for you to check your score in real time, how you're participating on either the girly testnet and also mainnet, so that you can all see how you are competing against each others. Yeah, but that will come next month. And it's a separate leaderboard. This is a leaderboard. This is like a dashboard for you to understand how the gateway is scoring you, or how you are comparing against other indexers when competing for query fees. That should get you some more nice information on how you can probably tweak your infrastructure or your cost models or whatever it might be. And you can already do so. Actually, there's an epoch, there's a gateway QoS subgraph that exposing all of these metrics already. So you can build dashboards for it if you want to. I'll actually link that subgraph here.
We have another question here that I think hasn't been answered, if I'm not mistaken. When can we start experimenting with 𝗨𝗀𝗂𝗧 in the MIPS program? I think this has already been discussed, but I'll let you comment on that, Pedro. I think this was a
Yeah,
question that's brought up in other IOHs, but yeah, I'll let you go.
correct. So I remember that Ford mentioned something which still holds true, which is you can already experiment with 𝗨𝗀𝗂𝗧 on girly. And yeah, so you can do that with on girly. It's just that we don't have a phase or a specific mission for you to test it out, really. But you're free to play around with it. There's still some traffic being injected onto 4 subgraphs we have on girly, the ones that are in scope for phase 0 and phase 1. We're still injecting traffic, so if you want to continue exploring on girly, yeah, you can do that.
And then also, if you're curious about 𝗨𝗂𝗧 and have specific questions about that software, luckily we have Alexei, who, if I'm not mistaken, is the creator of that software. So if you have any specific questions there, feel free to either type them in the chat or ask them out loud. I can see Pedro wrote a comprehensive answer in the chat, so hopefully that answers your question.
And just to add that we may in the future have a dedicated mission for you folks to play around with these new components like the 𝗨𝗂𝗧 or the allocation optimizer tool, but so far there's no plans. That's not really the priority. So I would highly encourage you to take the time to do it on girly while we do not migrate to mainnet.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it there from Pedro. Cool. More questions? Please do fire away in the chat or unmute your mic. We'd love to answer the questions if you have any, seeing as this is an important touch point where you can kind of, express any sort of questions that you have. I see Vil typing.
It seems like we don't have a lot of people testing Nethermind with the TraceDB plugin. Didn't get a lot of comments or feedback on that question before. Vilja, yes, I think there's even a forum post where the EdgeNode team or the data science from EdgeNode, they've even explained the metrics we are taking from the gateway. So the metrics we're seeing on the gateway, they're being anchored on IPFS, and then they're being anchored on on girly and pointing to IPFS. So this subgraph that I just posted here, it's basically parsing all of that IPFS hashes and taking the metrics out. But yeah, I believe the forum post goes through the different parameters we're keeping track of, the cadency, all of that. I'll try to look for it. And it's super useful. Like it's the super transparent way of understanding how you are competing on the network.
All right. Yeah, I just see another comment in relation to Nethermind. Good stuff. Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to open up the scope of this conversation wider. So, you know, many of you are here and, you know, in touch with your ecosystem participants. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to bring up or discuss, now is the opportunity. And of course, if anyone else has additional questions or thoughts in relation to MIPS, we can also continue that conversation there as well. I see some folks chatting in the chat box. Cool. I see Pedro typing, and I'm assuming he's about to respond to the comment there. Okay, cool. Well, I am going to take this opportunity to wrap today's conversation, unless someone has a burning question, and if they do, please do stop me, and we can explore the topic. If not, then it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you all today. Thank you all for attending. It's worth mentioning that next week will be the last IOH for the year, which is crazy to say. It has been a wild ride this year, but a very enjoying one nonetheless. We also have Launchpad office hours tomorrow, and the final one, again, is happening next week. So please do. I see the emoji there, Vince. We'll be back next year. Don't worry. we're not going forever. We'll be back. But yeah, we'll be back in the new year with fresh minds and fresh faces. And yeah, very much looking forward to the final one for next year. And we'll catch you. Oops, sorry, that was a call. Someone was trying to call me there. Oh wow, that's an even more hysterical emoji pain. I can see the emotion there. That's amazing. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure spending time with you all. Oh, Protofire, I see the deadline. There's 1 day left for indexes. Okay, Pedro, do you wanna? Yeah, as he's responded there, that's a no. Cool. Well, thank you all for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next week for the final IOH of the year. Take care, everyone.